right, welcome to episode 6 of Creativity in the Valley. Today we have a super awesome guest. We have Miss Tracy from Atyeo's Dance, who is coming by to talk to us and let me ask her some very hard questions and really talk about you and your dance. And I'm lucky enough to be a father that has a daughter in your dance school, and I'm very excited for today actually, because this is a nice little change up from who we've been talking to. And what we like to talk about in these podcasts is we just like to talk about the creativity side of things. That's really the focus. Is we have such a wonderful community in the area that being able to have people that are like-minded in that creative aspect is really kind of, I think, a cool thing. And I'm excited that we're able to do these podcasts. So I'm going to start asking you questions, and the first thing that we want to talk about is just a little bit about you. So tell us about Tracy.
Okay. I'm a small town girl with, I would say, big world experiences. If you told 20-year-old me, hey, you're gonna have a studio in 7 years, I would have laughed and thought that you were crazy. But that's what happened.
Yeah.
Not many people can wake up and live their dream job. I have a totally different perspective of what dream job means.
Yeah.
It is absolutely rewarding in so many ways I couldn't comprehend, and there are so many other aspects of it that I never thought would happen either. All the stress, the difficult decisions, endless paperwork, planning, all the hats that you have to wear because you are owning your own business.
Yes.
And it actually keeps me away from my loved ones as well, but I wouldn't change any aspect of it.
No,
I absolutely love what I do, so.
That is, and I know, I mean, lots of people love what you do, right? Because I mean, dancing is such an expressive form, and it's such an amazing thing to watch and kind of see how it goes. So, give us a little bit of info on kind of how, or a little bit of info on like how you got to the path where you are, right? You said like 20-year-old you wouldn't have said, I'm gonna have a studio. So how'd that path kind of lead you down that road? My
background, dance has always been a part of my life, but I actually went through for ECE.
Okay.
After early childhood education, which was my passion, it was second nature to me.
Yeah.
Teaching is second nature to me, so being a dance teacher is amazing because I get to do what I love, and I'm actually good at it, which helps. It took me to many places. I've been all over the world because I've had opportunities to teach in different countries and gain experience from there. And then I ended up in this area.
Yes.
And coming from the small town that I did of Owen Sound, we always had that military influence from Meaford. And you'd always hear about this unknown place, Petawawa, where people just went and never came back from. And I was like, I'm never gonna be there, like never in a million years. And I ended up here, like everyone else, and found this great opportunity to open up my own dance studio. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of drama in how that all came about, but I knew that I could, and I had actually ran my dance studio when my director was pregnant. Mm-hmm. So I had all that background. I understood the concept of what that would entail, not to the depth that I know now, yes. But yeah, it was. That's kind of just how it came about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're talking about business. Yeah, you are. You're wearing all the hats, right? It's not like all I do is teach dance. Nope, it's not that.
which is funny because some of my dancers are like, do you live here?
Yeah.
Or they see me outside of dance and they don't recognize me. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be living at the dance studio. And
they think you just live up the stairs,
yeah.
just on the top there.
I'm a little caught up there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, so now I'm going to kind of get into the creativity questions. Just try and answer them as best as you can with how I'm saying it. So, do you strive to be unique in your creativity? So in the endeavors that you create all of your dance routines and everything like that?
Yes. I feel that a lot of the times people think that the creativity is just the dance and the music and the concept of that, but I take into consideration my dancers and are they mature enough to grasp the concept of that routine, both technically and the meaning behind it, because every dance tells a story, or should have some kind of connection with it that they can build on. So my creativity comes in not only the teaching of the skills, how am I going to get Sally to do a tendu properly? like I can tell her, you need to stretch your foot out to the front, in front of you, devant.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always work with everybody.
I just want to, you're talking about fondue. I remember like, I would hear that and I'd be like, fondue? What is a fondue? And I'm just like, that's a food, no. And then they're like, no, it's tendu. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense, right?
Fondue
oh, so you have a fondue as well.
And it means to melt, because
Okay.
it is taken from the French, French
so I wasn't
word.
losing it there.
No, you weren't.
Okay.
And then we will actually give the definition in French. Okay, so fondue means to melt, plié means to bend, but how?
Yes.
How fast? How slow? How low? And getting the kids to imagine that or get into imagery where they can feel, okay, yeah, we've got to go with the music here.
Yeah.
And that kind of creativity is what I love about teaching.
That's awesome. Awesome. And then who or what experience have inspired your work?
Wow. I would have to say first and foremost, my director, Micah. She made everything fun, even when she wasn't looking at me or I wanted her to look at me and be like, hey, I can do this now, I've been practicing. And she's like, good. I'm like,
tough love.
Yep. And that's exactly what it was. And she just inspired me to be the best dancer that I could possibly be. When I walked into her studio, I know there will be questions later on, but I had been dancing since I was 5. But when I walked into her dance studio, I was probably 13, and within a year, I was actually one of her teachers because I wanted it that bad. And I hadn't taken ballet class when I walked into her class, and she was very adamant, you want this? You need to be in ballet.
Yes.
So 13-year-old me walked into a class with 8 and 9-year-olds who were better, and I hated it. And she just continued to inspire me by, this is what you need to have if you want to do this. If this is what you love, then this is how you're going to get to those places. So she was a big inspiration that way. Her husband as well, Bobby Hooper, was an amazing trainer. He inspired me to be the best I could be physically and strength-wise, and that dance is a part of being strong, and you need to have muscles, and you need to be able to do push-ups and all of those wonderful things. I had a friendly competitor in my class as well when I was younger. She was the beautiful, tall, lean, muscular ballerina, and I was the short, strong, solid jazz girl. So I kicked her butt in jazz, and she kicked my butt in ballet, and we had a really good relationship that way. I guess other influences would be music, always, and my favorite choreographers, and even continuing professional education, so making sure that you're still influenced by the professionals that are out there and that you're feeding off of them and they're feeding off of you, and being able to make way for new things in the future, which is always good.
I think I go back to ballet. I guess ballet is kind of the core of all dancing, really, right? Like, you know, if you want to, I know if you want to be a teacher, I think you have to have that behind you anyways. And, you know, you get accreditations with schools to help, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of neat that there's this core fundamental that helps you build up to, you know, everything else that you want to do. So I know this one's definitely a little bit harder, but when was the first time that you kind of realized that you were creative?
This question stumps me big time, because I think we're all creative. I don't think there are non-creative people out there. I think that we're just kind of molded as we were kind of talking at the beginning, you know, when you're in kindergarten and you create this wonderful piece, and you and I would be like, okay, Billy, what is that? And they go into the explanation, and as we get older, we're kind of told, no, that's not actually how you draw that thing, that's not how you sing that song, that's not how you dance that step, that's not how you do that math problem, all those kind of things. So we're continually being shaped. So I think that it's that because we're all creative and we all kind of change when we grow and how we grow and who influences us and who allows us to be creative, I think it's not really self-aware. I think it's actually first acknowledged by people around you. I think maybe if I could pinpoint an experience, it would be my dad wanted me to play guitar, like big time. And I had no interest in playing guitar, but my grandma and my babysitter both had a piano. My grandma had an electric one where you could press that demo button. I'd be like, yay, I'm playing. And you wouldn't, but then I would go to my babysitters and I would sit down and I would play Mary Had a Little Lamb, Three Blind Mice, Hot Cross Buns, A Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I'd never been taught. And my dad walked in and he was like, what?
Yeah.
You can play piano? And I was like, no, I just know these songs. And so I started, he got me into piano lessons right away, which I'm very thankful for. And I think that's maybe when I realized that I had something
there kind of thing, right? Yeah. I like your idea though of saying, you know, all people are creative, and it's just kind of how you're molded into it, which is a different way. It's not a way I've thought about it before, because I do know, like, the experience I had that kind of got me knowing that I had a creative thing, and it was I'll talk about that another time. But that's a really interesting way, because you're right, because you can be supportive of something, right? Instead of pushy, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
And I think that's where, as teachers, we can sometimes lose students, and we have to be really careful how we push them and how we encourage them. And sometimes we push them too far because we're still learning about their personalities, and it's a real, like, I know you can do this.
Yeah, I know.
And
right?
why don't you want to do this? And you know, what they're going through, especially teenagers, and all the different things that they're dealing with. It's easy for the younger ones, kind of. But
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really neat way of looking at it. And then we talked about this earlier, and I loved your answer. So how do you deal with creative blocks? Because your answer was, I actually plan for creative blocks. And I'm like, well, that just kind of. But you did have an answer as to how you kind of.
I'm very OCD, and I have deadlines throughout the year, and I cannot not have choreography. I cannot walk into the studio and not be prepared because, I couldn't think of a good song today, I couldn't think of a step today. That doesn't work in my world. We have competitions, we have exams, we have a showcase that the girls need to know their routine for. So I do plan for creative blocks, and when that happens, it's usually right after the show, and I spend like 3 days not thinking about anything dance, even though I will. But it'll be because I want to, and it'll be a fun thing. But that's when I plan for my next year. And I'll go through, I mentioned I have a very vast...
lots of days.
Yes, lots of days of music. 51 days of music, and I'll just start going through and obscure things. I don't actually, I used to not steal music from my friends, but I used to be like, hey, I'm just going to take your iTunes library and make, is that okay? Cool? Yeah? All right, sweet. So I'll go through my list of music. I'm like, wow, what is that? I don't recognize that song. And I'll listen to it. Sometimes like, ooh. And sometimes like, whoa, that could be good. And I'll tuck it away for later. I think of a couple of different themes, and you know, over the years, I'm like, oh yeah, that theme. About Once Upon a Time. I think I'm ready to do that one. I've got some ideas for it. At the beginning of this year, it was going to be Cinderella, and I changed my mind just coming into September, because I started really thinking about our competitive pieces, and I was like, nope, that's not going to work. And so that might be tucked away for later on, but
exclusive here. Next one is Cinderella, guys. That's kind of neat.
So that's kind of how I get around that, because my girls depend on me to have, and the parents do too, and I can't just be, I don't know.
I know I told you before we started, like, one of the things that I enjoy the most about going and seeing your showcases is the music. Like, for me, I've seen other studios do showcases, but for me it's been your selection of music and how you've put it to the story that you're telling, and what you create for all the girls that dance, because music's a big deal to me, like a huge deal. If you ever ask Kim, she'd tell you that, like, music is big for me. And I know every time I hear something, I just get excited when that song comes up, to like, oh, what a great song to pick. Like, that's, you know, like, you're like, oh, I was telling you about the Chemical Brothers. Like, you did Chemical Brothers last year, and you're using another one this year. And for me, it's just, you don't hear, you know, it's not the norm. So to me, that's got to be creative. Like, you have to be using your brain to be like, how will Chemical Brothers work in ballet? You know, like, it's really, really quite neat. and I know this is going to be a hard one because no one has a favorite, but what do you feel is like the best routine that you kind of have done or you feel have created? I know what mine of yours is already, but I want you to kind of...
I know the girls have favorites. I know...
Okay, what's one that you really like then at least? Don't give me a favorite, give me one that you like really like then, so that nobody thinks like, oh, it's my favorite one, but...
Well,
she's picking favorites!
I think the one that gets me most excited is the one that I did with the blocks.
Okay.
And the only reason why, because mathematically speaking, it was just, how am I going to get the girls to have these 3 blocks? And there was letters on each side of the block. And as they danced, they would flip the box to make a 3-letter word. That was in the song, and they would show it at the same time it was sung in the song. So there was a lot of things going on, and they all moved the box the same way. And then they also changed spots. So I have this diagram of, okay, so Chelsea's here, Jesse's here, and Brooklyn's over here. Where is my O?
Yeah.
And that was really, really fun and really creative, I thought, in terms of how, I don't even know how that came out, like why I went that direction. So, and then at the end of the show, or at the end of the dance, they had 9 boxes in total, and it spelt the name of the song in front. Yeah. And they even threw the boxes up at one time as well. So, yeah, it was crazy, but it was awesome. And that was one of the pieces I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool.
What was the name of the song?
Untouchable.
Untouchable by...
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Anybody? No?
I don't know. It's kind of poppy.
I'm just trying to, it sounds like a Rihanna song to me, but it's probably not. So we kind of already talked about how long you've been dancing. You've been dancing since you were young, 5, you said, right? Yeah. So we kind of picked that. And then how did you get your start? Well, was it when you were, was it the whole guitar piano thing, or was it?
I actually was a Grey Bruce twirler, like a majorette, like a baton. Yeah.
Yeah, like in the parade.
Yeah,
like, okay,
that's kind of where I started off. And then my friend was dancing at this little, it was called the Deacon Dancers, and it was a little community thing. And the classes were actually taught out of my first director's home. Yep. And I can still smell, I still remember the smell of the home because it was one of those old farmhouses. Yep. And it was upstairs, the creaky stairs, and it was in this tiny little room. And my first routine was Teddy Bear's Picnic and dancing on the Ceiling, I think, by Bruce Springsteen. Dancing in the Dark. Dancing in the Dark, yeah. So those were my first 2 routines, and then they moved to the White Hall, which was one door down from where I lived. And that's where I kind of just was like, wow, I love this. This is so cool. And my director's daughter and I kind of ran the place. We would have a friendly little competition, and then, of course, after I was about 13, I went to another studio and just blew my mind away. Like, oh, wow, okay, this is like the big city of Owen Sound dancing now, and they have just flourished as well, so it's pretty cool.
And then, so let's kind of talk about what you're working on right now. You're working on the showcase, so kind of go into a little bit about that.
So actually before that, we're doing our competition still in Ottawa, so that's kind of in the back of my head, and then all of our teachers are getting their routines ready for our show in June. Yeah. Just
so get your tickets, right?
Get your tickets, June 4th. And you can, at Valor High School, tickets are sold through our dance studio. Last day is Thursday, May 12th, I think. So yeah, and it'll be very exciting to tie in our Carnival Circus theme. We're also having Stretching Realities, Steve and Anthony do an illusion show after intermission, which is going to really kind of tie in that whole carnival feeling. So it's going to be great.
How many routines would you say you would have for a showcase? Like, how many do you have to come up with? And do you come up with them all yourself?
Well, at the beginning, when it was just me, I was coming up with about 35 dances for the show. And that's not to include some of the fun ones that we do at the beginning of the year. And now I have 15 to 20, I think, including the competition ones. And then my other dancers will take the other classes.
Ones. That's neat. That's cool.
It's nice to actually be able to have a little heartbreak.
Yeah, no, it is,
Like,
right?
okay, I only have to worry about these classes.
Exactly, right?
And those girls are competent enough to make really wonderful
Yeah.
routines for our other girls.
And I'm sure
as well.
you check on them anyways before you're like, yeah, that's the, yeah, just go, just do it, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, I'm gonna end with just like, what would you say is the most embarrassing dance moment you've had?
There have been so many. Oh, wow. Okay. There's one that kind of encompasses two embarrassing moments because I was a teenager at the time and I was at Dance Makers and we were getting ready to dance with Lawrence Gowan. So he was coming to our show to do a special performance and there was some dancers dancing with him. And I was wearing this crushed velvet leotard, which was red, and black pants. And you learn different things as a dancer, like what to wear under your costumes and what not to wear, and how things work, and little tricks of the trade, you know.
Tuck this here,
yeah,
pin this here.
yeah, there's a bunch of us, and I didn't know that when wearing a strapless bra underneath your leotard, that after dancing it might shift.
Yes.
So at the end it looked like I had 4 instead of 2. So that was embarrassing. And then also along with that, I actually ripped my pants in the crotch. And I was luckily it was a dress rehearsal, but I was just like, really, of everything, like this just sucks. Like, oh, I was very, very embarrassed. So
that that would be, but I mean, you know, like when you have stories like that, though, and you're able to talk to your dancers and tell them that kind of story, it helps them in the long run, really,
totally
right?
does.
Like I know my daughter would love hearing an embarrassing story because I know it would make her feel better if like she ever did something silly, right? Like, you know, those are all kind of great little things. So I want to talk about the showcase a little bit more. I don't have these written down for you. I'm sorry, but with the showcase, you're changed venues this year, and you know. I'm just trying to figure out, like, I don't want to go on about why the choice, but, you know, the space that you've chosen, how are you using it differently maybe than years previous?
Oh, okay, yeah. Changing locations was more of an ethical choice than anything, really. I just needed to change, just a different change for this year. And it's really great because the stage that we're using is actually larger than the stage that we would have had. So that's an added bonus, and we're very excited about that because we've got quite a bit of dancers to fit on one stage, and this will make our lives a little bit easier. We're also, that's really about it. There's still going to be seating for everyone, and we'll still have enough seats to accommodate everyone. So
I know I'm excited. I can't. I mean, I always love seeing the showcases because they're always so well done. And again, music. So I know I skipped past it, but and I'm hoping Sean has a clip of this to show. But my favorite routine so far that I've seen from you was I'm pretty sure it was last year. It was a Chemical Brothers song, and it was I can't remember what the song. It's like How Do You Feel? Where it's like where it's like a mimicked motion throughout the whole thing, and you had, I think, 6 dancers up on stage, or even more, where one would kick the leg up and then it would just continue, and then like it was such an amazing routine to see live and pulled off like to perfection. Like nobody messed up. Like it was pretty impressive. And I do hope that Sean has a clip that we can show that one, because for me, when I looked at your creativity, and that was really, I know that was one of the things that popped in my mind when I thought about, hey, I wonder if Tracy would come and talk to us, because that showed me like, wow, like dancing is not just dancing. Like there's a lot of stuff that you have to think, and you have to have a creative mind to come up with something like that. So
it was
kudos to you for coming up with that.
It was really exciting that you mentioned the video of that Chemical Brothers song, because that had always been in the back of my mind, and I actually had used Let Forever Be is the name of the song.
The song, yeah.
I'd used it a couple of years before, and I wanted to do that then. I knew that my dancers weren't ready for it. Yeah. It takes a lot of timing. It takes a lot of, to make it where I wanted it to go, it just wasn't the right time. Yeah. So to have that piece and have the girls work with it, and I think there were 3 behind each of those 4 kind of frames that we had. Yeah. There was 3 behind each of them, and I wanted it to be like the audience only thinks there's 4 of you,
yes.
or maybe 8.
Yeah.
And then when you all come out, it's like, whoa,
yeah.
where did all these kids come from? So that was, and moving those and counting with those girls, like,
everything was really cool, because I know we were sitting up on the top balcony for this one, and for me, because I know the video and I know exactly how it was,
like
being the top down was like, it was like, this is the video, like this is really neat to see live. So yes, again, good job on that one. So I just want to thank you for coming by and spending some time with us today. I hope you weren't too nervous. You got through good. I think she did good, guys. What do you guys think? I think she did awesome. So again, just a reminder that the showcase is June 4th.
Saturday.
Tickets, last time you can buy tickets is?
Thursday, May 12th from 7:30 to 9:30 at Atyeo's Dance Studio at 145 Pembroke Street.
Yes, which is right underneath Ottawa Valley Studios.
Yes.
FYI,
Yes.
just saying. Yes, again, so thank you very much for coming by. And which camera? Yeah, I think for this one. Am I on that one? I can't tell. Thanks again, everybody, for watching episode 6 of Creativity in the Valley, and we will see you next time. Cool. You did awesome.